Well, today we're actually going to start the Jesus series, which is the new booklet, which has a lot of stuff in it from Kip and Raj, who was obviously here, have put this together. And it's 4 classes to help us study the Bible with atheists. Okay, so we're going to go through this today in the next 4 leaders meeting. And this is entitled The Existence of God. Okay, so like with any study, you've got to know your stuff before you just plow into it. So in the notes, I put a couple of little extra pictures in there because we like pictures, okay, and pictures can help us. And sometimes you can refer to something and you go, I think I know what that is, like the periodic table, but I'm not quite sure. And you go online and look it up. Well, as I'm preaching, you can't go online, all right, so I've put the pictures in there. So this is about talking about the existence of God. So the purpose of this study is to bring atheists and agnostics to the conviction that God is very real and that the evidence is undeniable. Romans 1:20 says, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse." So there's a lot in that verse. Evidence is nobody has an excuse. When you look around you, the evidence is all around you. God has made himself known through his power and divine nature, evidenced in his creation, and science backs this up. I know this is not in the study, but I know when we had our young twins, and you look at the small hand of a child, and it's just one of the most amazing things to hold that hand in yours and go, this is so intricate, this is so complex, and yet also so easy to destroy. And if you want to, you can look at that and go, there's no way that came from a rock with no energy. But unfortunately, because the world is bombarded with, well, I've read this and I know this and this scientist said this. Well, that's just man's knowledge. And science always keeps changing. All science is our best estimate of the truth based on the evidences we have right now. And as more evidences keep coming up, science keeps changing. So we're going to take a look at 3 things today. Point 1, cosmology. Cosmology is the science of the origin and development of the universe. Now, I've also put in here a link, which is a great little 5-minute video. It's entitled, Proving God Exists in 5 Minutes, which, again, attracts a lot of people. I'll give you 5 minutes. So I'd watch that. But it actually has this picture in there of really what happened since the beginning of what we call the Big Bang. Not that anybody was there and know that it went bang. It could have been a fizzle. To what we have now. Okay. Cosmology. If every effect must have an adequate cause, then there are only 3 explanations as to the cause of the universe. 1, it is self-created. 2, it has always existed and therefore is uncreated. 3, it was created by a being other than itself. Self-creation is unreasonable, since a material object cannot exist and not exist at the same time. Okay? Some cite the Big Bang theory as the likely first cause. This assumes matter existed to be distributed by the Big Bang. The widely accepted law of the conservation of matter is that the amount of matter stays the same even when matter changes form. So to help you understand that, so if I take a pile of logs, all right, I weigh them and they're, 10 kilograms, and then you burn them, okay, and you're left with ash that is lighter, and then you could actually capture what was let off, the energy from it, etc. It's impossible for that, if you put it all back together, to become more. It can become less, but it can't become more. Does that make sense? Okay. Therefore, it's argued that in and of itself, matter cannot be created or destroyed. Consequently, the Big Bang Theory cannot be the first cause. Okay, think about it. Big Bang says there's matter like this. What about before that? Ultimately, matter must have come from another source, a creator being, that being God. In other words, God created something out of nothing. Size of this magnitude implies a being of unimaginable power. God is the only cause adequate for such vast universe. Consider some of the following scientific observations. The Earth is 6 quadrillion kilograms sphere rotating in space. Okay, so you think about you get a 2 kilogram bag of flour. Okay, 6 quadrillion. That's a lot. Our sun, which is a star, has a diameter of 1.4 million kilometers, 100 times that of the Earth's. And it would fit 1.3 million Earths inside it. The Milky Way is a galaxy that contains our solar system. There are 2 billion stars in that Milky Way, and there are estimated 2 trillion galaxies in the universe. Start to feel a little bit small here, like the world doesn't revolve around yourself. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So it also makes you understand that, you know, that really intelligent scientist that knows everything? He's like, you know, what can fit in your head is nothing. Scientists have estimated the distance from Earth to the edge of the universe is 47 billion light years. That's just an estimation. However, it's difficult to estimate how far the universe extends beyond what we can see, since many believe the universe has been expanding outwards ever since its inception. And here's a concept. If it is expanding out, what is it expanding out into? Nothing. Hold on a second, I can't get my head around that. So it's expanding into nothing. But no, everything must be something. No. Scientists believe the universe is 13.7 billion years old at the moment. That could change tomorrow or next year. Yet the size is unimaginably bigger than the speed of light, the fastest entity in existence. So you know when you look up the stars, and this is pretty cool, when you actually look up the stars and you go, that's a star, that star may not even exist. It can cease to exist. All you're seeing is the light from it. So you go, well, I know there are stars and I can see it. So how about that as a concept? Just because you see it doesn't mean it exists. It could have ceased to have existed. So now try and wrap your head around that one. Okay. Obviously, something outside of and beyond space, time, and matter created the universe. Right, let me just show you with a study like this. Some of you are like, this is not for me. This is a study to use with a certain type of person. Because really, some people go, I look at creation, I look at the hand of a child and go, I get it. But we want as many tools in our back pocket to meet as many people's needs. Point 2, teleology. The teleological proof of God's existence asserts that when an object reflects a purpose, goal, or design, it must have a designer. So a creator. An analogy of an iPhone on a beach. So you find an iPhone on a beach, which we're all praying for tomorrow. Okay, Lord, find me an okay. So you go down and, you have your quiet time and you find an iPhone on the beach. And you pick it up. You turn around to your friend, this is unbelievable. I just happened to be in the right place where the years of waves and sun and volcanic eruptions, time and chance created this iPhone. I didn't get it from an iStone store. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time when it just happened and out popped this iPhone, because obviously it's possible that if it's happened once, it can happen again. And people would look at you and go, you're a complete idiot. But that's the concept. The conclusion there must have been an intelligent creator. And obviously, for argument, we're not going to argue over whether it's an iPhone or a Samsung or anything like that. But you see how ridiculous, if I came to that argument, well, you've got to understand it's possible to find an iPhone on the beach. You go, no, well, that's like the same thing. Just out of nothing, with all this complexity, we get a human being. What about order? Well, the periodic table of elements. And I've got to say, I had to go back, and I knew the title, Periodic Table of Elements, but I haven't been to school in like 40 years or whatever, so I had to go back and look up exactly what that was. So I thought, let me put a picture in here so you can, maybe you're younger than me and you know exactly what it is. Maybe you've never even seen it. So that's the periodic table. In science, the periodic table is used in physics, chemistry, biology, with a consensus by scientists. The simple chart arranges all chemical elements known to man by their atomic number, electron configuration, and reoccurring chemical properties. In the basic form, there are 118 elements are presented in order of increasing atomic number, the number of protons in the nucleus of the atom. Originally conceived by Dmitry Mendeleev in 1869, he rightfully predicted that there were elements with successive number of protons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to 94. Therefore, although he didn't know all the elements, he left gaps for those undiscovered elements, which in over a century were eventually all discovered, which was pretty humble of him to not turn around and go, I know everything. He started to understand that, hey, I don't know everything, and it will come to light, but I can see God's design in this. Today, in the entire known universe, there are only 94 natural occurring elements. The remaining 24 are man-made, which means if you look at a dog walking along, it is made up of some of those elements and nothing else. In other words, everything, this pulpit, me, this microphone, is made up of only some of those 94 elements, nothing else. So, of course, there are similarities between us, a dog, a rock, because there are only 94 elements to choose from. Okay? Conclusion. With so exact but few building blocks to build an entire and ever-expanding universe, there must be one master creator. So it is mind-blowing to think that everything is created just from 94. So, in other words, if you arrange them in different ways, you can get enormous amount of outcomes. What about the solar system? Again, got a nice picture in here. I haven't done this for a long time. It's actually really interesting. If you go to Los Angeles and up on Hollywood, there is actually a museum there. Is it there? I think it is. And you have the actual sizes of the planets. And you sort of go up and you look at this. This is Earth, and then the sun, and it's comparative size. And it really puts things into perspective of how small the Earth is compared to everything else. But as you can see there, on the left-hand side, that big yellow bit, that's the sun. Okay. Again, we see God of order. The position of the sun and the way the 9 planets are arranged is very precise. The distance of the Earth from the sun supports the perfect condition for human beings to exist. So when people go, well, is there life on other planets? When you actually understand the heat that it's taken for us to live in, and understand a little bit this way and you'd be frozen as, okay? Just think about climate change and everything like that. A little bit this way and you'd be burnt to a crisp. It's unbelievable that life exists at all. So had the Earth been a little further away, it would have been too cold to support life. Had it been a little closer, any life on this planet would have been burnt beyond existence. These distances are too precisely calculated to be coincidental. So again, we are suspended. And I think about Colossians when it talks about, everything was created by Christ for Christ. Okay, and just literally how he understands exactly what it will take for human life to exist. Point 3, anthropology. Anthropology is the study of man, anthropos, his biological, psychological, and sociological characteristics, essentially what makes us human. So Genesis 1:26, then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So often we go, well, the image is physical. Well, if God is not physical, it's obviously not physical, is it? And if you look around here, we're all a little bit different, which is, what we're all like, isn't it? But we're made in his image when it comes to emotionally, morally, and everything like that. Man is more than an intelligent being. He's the offspring of God, created in his image. Although animals are fascinating creatures also made by God, they do not desire to know God through worship and prayer. They do not self-reflect or self-adjust to a moral standard. In other words, I love our dog, Mischief, okay? Not everybody loves my dog. But I love our dog, but my dog has a spirit, but she doesn't have a soul. So Alan Webster relates humorously, no dog lies awake at night thinking, I should not have been so mean to that cat today. Tomorrow I'm going to do better. In actual fact, unfortunately, our dog saw a cat, ran after the cat ran out underneath a car and killed. Our dog did not get depressed. Our dog did not turn up and go, woof, woof, take me to jail. Okay? There's no guilt there. There's none of that. Amen. That's what dogs do, okay? Tom and Jerry, you've seen that sort of thing? Okay. All right. What do you think about moral values that humans have? Kindness, joy, forgiveness, generosity, empathy. Love are emotions that do not simply exist because you have space, time, mass, and energy. The four things that most atheists believe of which the universe is composed. And think about it. It is these things, or the lack of these things, that cause all the problems. I don't feel loved. I don't feel like you're being joyful. I don't feel like you've forgiven me. I just don't feel like you're empathetic. Well, why are you talking to me about your emotions? You're just a blob of molecules come together in the process of, evolution, and, you just haven't evolved enough to deal with your emotions. And I'm evolved enough that actually who I am is a much better version of you, and you've just got to evolve to understand that. I mean, where does it go, right? Okay, don't try that one. Okay. Mass and time cannot develop love and care. So if you take those out, why are you getting upset? And let's be honest, so many atheists are upset at God or life. But if you're just a blob of molecules, what right do you have to getting upset? Another example of man's created uniqueness is his conscious state of mind, the mere ability to question why, what, and when is unexplainable and absent in other living beings. Moral values were created by a sinless God. Ecclesiastes 3:11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He's also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to the end. This verse persists that God has put eternity in mankind's heart. Mankind wonders what will happen to them when they die, and they sense that there is life after death. The anthropological proof for God's existence states that if eternity and morality exists, then so does God exist. He alone gives life, and he alone has power over death. So the conclusion, cosmology, teleology, and anthropology, the evidence of God's eternal power and divine nature, have been seen clearly and leave us without excuse but to believe in the existence of one true God. So then you ask, hey, do you believe that God is? So that's the study. What I have to say, though, as with all new tool, just because you go and say, look, here's proof there's God, doesn't mean that someone is going to accept it. I think about the cigarette packet, all right? The cigarette packet now has your teeth will be like this, This will happen to this. Nobody argues that cigarettes do great harm. But man still continues to smoke. What does that tell you about man? Right? That if man wants to ignore the truth, they will ignore the truth. So don't get angry at the end with somebody if they don't respond to it. Just go, hey, why don't you go out and study this yourself? And then we continue to be friends. If you then send the study to someone and they don't read it, well, it's really like doing a Seeking God study. You know, are you responding to it? Do you really want to do this? So use all these new tools as what they are. They're simply another tool that we can use that is great. You might want to do this as a Bible talk. You know what I mean? You might want to get used to it a bit, but also get your head around it as well, and that's the study.